Seena Frost. Scientific research on the brain and human behavior tells us that 95% of daily activities emerge from an unconscious part of our brain. From birth onwards, we are programmed with various beliefs and assumptions and prejudice, ones we continually act on and ones we seldom question. We're programmed about our genders, about how to be happy, about right and wrong, about how to best survive and thrive, and most certainly about how to relate to other people and to the natural world. That other 5% of the brain, the conscious part, is full of many inner voices, voices who argue and fuss among themselves. They all work hard to manage this human soul and other souls too. So today we have all these many varied processes working side by side, secular and mystical ones and combinations of scientific and spiritual ones, each striving to help humans wake up. I wanted to set the stage for you to recognize SoulCollage as one of these modalities. Images are at the center of the SoulCollage process. We know they can open the heart, and they open it in a different way from words. Once that right brain creative door is opened, the human soul wants to go there over and over so it can grow and be refreshed. Each person makes a separate card for each part that actually has strong energy in their personalities. Everyone has a different assortment. Each soul is unique.
The process of making the cards, it's actually quite easy. You don't have to be an artist to enjoy this process, and it's also very enjoyable. Finding images in the society, in the world we live in, is very easy. We have a great abundance. There's plenty of magazines all over, and then you can just let yourself go through them and just pick the ones that in that moment call to you. You find images because that image speaks to something inside of you that you might not really know how to define, but you sense it. So it's very important when you have an image that calls to you to start looking at bringing it out from where it was and putting it into a different context, and then see what other images want to go with it. And eventually you come to a place where you have organized your composition and you put them on a card. And that's your first SoulCollage card.
SoulCollage is spreading rapidly. Many facilitators are doing workshops in the U.S. and around the world. And now I've designated SoulCollage trainers besides me to run facilitator trainings across the U.S. and in other countries. Facilitators are sharing SoulCollage in many contexts with diverse peoples. They're using it with children's groups and Alzheimer's patients, with prenatal groups and with hospice, with addiction recovery and stress management and trauma healing, even weight loss and fitness. Groups have been held at churches and temples, at schools and with scouts, in private homes, of course, and with book groups and writers' groups, in men's groups and women's groups and couples groups and veterans groups, also in prisons and homeless shelters, and even in corporations. SoulCollage has been a self-care tool for nurses and social workers, and, of course, it is also a valuable tool for therapists and coaches. There are few restrictions in the SoulCollage process, and within limits, you are free to adapt it to fit into your work and even into the vocabulary of your tradition. However, if you want to call what you are doing SoulCollage, we do ask you to follow these principles and use the basic structure that sets SoulCollage apart from other methods. Number 1, People choose visual images intuitively and usually from collections of already formed images. Number 2, they collage a card or cards using those images they have chosen. And point 3, they have the experience of speaking aloud from their image. There's an up-to-date, full version of the principles of SoulCollage posted on our website, along with the guidelines for SoulCollage. SoulCollage has a spiritual underpinning in that we imagine there is an overall oneness, a unity, a formless ground of being from which every form or part comes. We call this oneness Source. We make a card for Source, and we place it in the center of readings to symbolize unity. And it is a silent card.
The Source card doesn't have a shadow and is not ever consulted, because the Source is really about honoring the experience of oneness. And for each of us, there might be different words that we choose to describe that experience. It could have a religious connotation, it could have a spiritual connotation, or it could have just a connotation of the experience, that the desire that we have to connect with something that is larger than us.
We also make 2 other silent cards that are transpersonal or spiritual cards, one for soul essence and one for the witness. This soul essence has a unique coding, our special and divine potential for this life in the world. Witness is our potential for becoming conscious. All our other SoulCollage cards do their best to reflect and speak for these silent, transpersonal, or spirit cards. As we create cards for these parts and name them and speak from them, our soul is working as a unit to discover what our talents and passions are and how to manifest them in our external lives, how to manifest them in our work in the world, whatever that may be.
We all have the experience of being many. We all play different roles in life, from the natural one of being a daughter, for example, in my case, becoming a mother, being a young woman, being an old woman, being a person who tends to the house, and a person that has a professional image. So there are many, many of us, not just one. But in the same time, we all have inside that desire for oneness, that desire for connectedness, interconnectedness also with our natural reality. And SoulCollage is really a unique tool in the sense that it honors both. Sometimes, especially in moments of stress, we forget how many resources we actually have within.
Readings are what surprise and amaze people the most in SoulCollage work. There is an amazing way that the unconscious part of soul knows and chooses the right cards, and they depend on our using intuition and imagination. They are also linked to community, because doing a reading seems to be most valuable when done with a small group of supportive people who are serving as witnesses and scribes. And then they witness and write down the wisdom that bubbles up from the images of one of the cards. Reading from cards in this way is a form of role-playing or Gestalt work, and it's often used in psychotherapy. However, it's valuable for anyone to use, so they can learn to step away from the restraints of ego and grow more conscious of their deep patterns of soul.
Doing a reading with SoulCollage usually really brings up exactly the pieces of you that you might have forgotten you have. Because I think remembering is at the key of spiritual development and personal development. We tend to forget who we are, we tend to forget where we're going, we tend to forget to keep the mind focused on the things that really count for us. And I find the SoulCollage has been very helpful for me to remember.
We are linked together in this one amazing, evolving organism called planet Earth, learning slowly how every part depends on every other part.
SoulCollage is a personal visual journal that you create to access your inner intuition, your inner wisdom, and also your resources. SoulCollage is one of the many wonderful tools to address the question, who am I and what am I doing on this earth?
So, with this as a possibility for our future, I urge you to take your SoulCollage cards and journey to a facilitator training. Be part of what is happening in this growing SoulCollage community and help it to become a vital and creative part of the transformation of the planet. Thanks so much for listening.